My name is Nora, and I am 33 years old. I recently bought a run-down 3-bedroom house on the edge of town for a small fraction of what a normal home would typically cost. The main reasons for the low price were obvious. The roof leaked badly, the kitchen cabinets were falling off their hinges, and the previous owner had left behind a backyard full of overgrown weeds alongside a rusted shed that looked like it might collapse in a strong wind. Everyone in my family thought I was completely insane for buying it. My sister Vanessa, on the other hand, had just closed on a 5-bedroom mansion in the city's most expensive gated community, complete with a pool, a home theater, and a 3-car garage that housed her husband Desmond's collection of luxury cars. The contrast between our two purchases became the favorite topic of every family gathering, and my parents made sure I never forgot it. It was during Sunday dinner, exactly 3 weeks after I signed the papers on my fixer-upper, that my mother brought it up again. We were sitting around the table and she was scrolling through photos of Vanessa's new house on her phone, showing them off to my aunt like she was presenting a museum exhibit. When she got to a photo of the marble countertops in Vanessa's kitchen, she looked over at me and laughed. She told me I would never own a home like my sister's, shaking her head like it was just an obvious, undeniable fact of life. My dad, sitting at the head of the table, simply nodded along without even looking up from his plate. He remarked that she was right and that some people just aim higher than others. I felt my face get hot, but I did not say anything. I had learned a long time ago that arguing with my parents about anything related to Vanessa was always a losing battle. Vanessa, of course, could not resist chiming in. She leaned back in her chair, twirling her wine glass, and gave me that smirk she had been giving me since we were kids, the one that made me feel about 2 inches tall. She asked loudly enough for the whole table to hear if I was just jealous. Few relatives chuckled. I forced a smile and changed the subject. But that night, driving home to my crooked little house with its creaky front porch, I could not stop replaying the moment in my head. I was not jealous. I had chosen this house on purpose. I had spent months researching the neighborhood, the soil, the property lines, and the permit history before I ever put in an offer. Because unlike my sister, I do not just buy things to impress people. I buy things because I understand exactly what I am getting into. See, what my family did not know was that I work in county code enforcement. I spend my days reviewing zoning violations, building permits, and property disputes for a living, and I am very good at my job. I was good enough that I had noticed something very odd about Vanessa's neighborhood months earlier, back when she and her husband first started house hunting. The development they bought into had been built on reclassified wetland, and the builder had rushed through inspections using a permit loophole that was still under investigation by the state. I had not said anything to Vanessa at the time because I felt it was not my place. And honestly, some petty part of me wanted to see how things would play out. A week after that dinner, I decided to invite Vanessa over for tea. I told her I wanted to show her the progress I had made on the house, including the new flooring I had installed myself and the kitchen I was slowly rebuilding cabinet by cabinet. She agreed to come, though I could tell from her tone that she was mostly coming to gloat. She wanted to see my little fixer-upper in person so she would have more material to laugh about at the next family dinner. She showed up right on time, dressed like she was heading to a country club, with heels clicking against my gravel driveway like she could not believe she had to walk on it. The second she walked through my front door, before she had even taken off her sunglasses, her phone started buzzing violently in her purse. She pulled it out, looking annoyed, and answered it while standing right there in my half-finished living room. I watched her face change in real time, the smugness draining out of it like water from a cracked pipe. Her eyes went wide, her hand flew to her mouth, and then she was screaming into the phone so loud the sound bounced off my bare drywall. She shouted that he needed to get there immediately. I knew, standing there in my kitchen with a teapot in my hand, that whatever was happening on the other end of that call was about to change everything my parents thought they knew about who had actually made the smarter investment. Vanessa's hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped her phone. She ended the call and turned to me, her face pale beneath her makeup, and told me the county had just issued an emergency evacuation notice for her entire neighborhood. The call had come from her neighbor, a woman named Rosalind, who said inspectors and engineers were swarming the development, putting up caution tape around several homes, including Vanessa's. I set the teapot down slowly, my heart pounding, because I knew exactly what this meant. The wetland violation I had flagged months earlier had finally caught up with the builder, and it had not just triggered a fine. It had triggered a structural safety investigation. Vanessa did not even say goodbye. She bolted out of my house, heels sinking into my gravel driveway, and sped off toward her neighborhood without looking back. I followed in my own car 20 minutes later, partly out of concern and partly because, as an employee of the county, I had a professional obligation to see what was unfolding. When I arrived, the scene was chaotic. Fire trucks and county vehicles lined the streets, and residents stood on their pristine lawns in bathrobes and slippers, clutching pets and photo albums, staring up at their million-dollar homes like they might collapse at any moment. Vanessa was standing in her driveway, sobbing, while Desmond argued with a man in a hard hat who I recognized as Grant Whitfield, one of the lead inspectors from my department. Grant explained loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear that soil samples taken from the development had confirmed what state geologists suspected for months. The builder had drained and filled a protected wetland without proper permits, using falsified environmental assessments to push the project through faster. The soil beneath at least a dozen homes, including Vanessa's, was unstable and actively shifting, and several foundations were already showing hairline cracks that would only get worse over time. The homes were not just devalued. They were, in the county's official language, uninhabitable pending further review. Vanessa's 5-bedroom mansion, the one my mother had bragged about for weeks, the one that had made me feel small every single Sunday, was now sitting on land the state considered a liability. My parents arrived not long after, having rushed over the moment Vanessa called them in hysterics. I watched my mother's face as she took in the scene. The caution tape, the cracked driveway pavers, the neighbors crying on their lawns. For the first time, I saw her at a genuine loss for words. My dad kept asking Grant the same questions over and over, as if repeating them might change the answer. But Grant just calmly explained that the homeowners would likely be facing a massive lawsuit against the builder, months of relocation, and property values that could take years to recover, if they ever recovered at all. Meanwhile, engineers were already discussing which homes might need to be condemned entirely. That night, my parents came to my house, the same fixer-upper they had mocked just weeks earlier, because Vanessa's home was unsafe to sleep in and they had nowhere else nearby to gather. I made them tea in my slowly renovating kitchen, the same kitchen my sister had rolled her eyes at, and I explained calmly what I had known for months. I told them how I had reviewed the permit history before ever putting an offer on my own house. I explained how I had chosen land with a clean environmental record, stable soil, and a fully documented history precisely because I understood the risks that came with cutting corners. My mother sat in stunned silence, staring at her tea, while my father finally admitted that maybe he had underestimated what I actually did for a living and what it meant to build something with real foundations instead of just impressive appearances. In the weeks that followed, Vanessa and Desmond were forced to move into a rental while their case worked through litigation against the builder, a process that experts warned could take years and might never fully restore what they had lost. My little fixer-upper, meanwhile, kept getting better one weekend at a time. I finished the kitchen cabinets myself, refinished the hardwood floors, and even fixed that leaky roof my mother had once laughed about. Every time I hosted a family dinner now, and I always did the hosting, my parents looked around at the home I had built with my own hands on solid ground in a genuinely safe and well-researched neighborhood. And I could see it in their eyes. They finally understood that owning a home is not about size or granite countertops or how impressive it looks from the street. It is about the ground you are standing on and whether it can actually hold you up when everything else starts to shake. If this story hit home for you, if you have ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to believe in you the most, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. I share stories just like this one every single week, real, raw, and full of the kind of justice we all wish we could see in our own lives. So, make sure you are subscribed and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next.